This is the November Ask Me Anything. And yes, it is December. So the way the Ask Me Anything is supposed to go is I upload it on the last day of the month. And the last day of the month being only a couple days after Thanksgiving. That didn't work out, so sorry. First up, Christoph is a Patreon supporter. So Patreon supporters get their questions answered first in the video. And Christoph asked a ton of questions, so here we go. For this first question, I'm going to take a global perspective. In the United States, that's very easily Christianity, although a Republican would tell you Islam. This is kind of hard to answer. I've gone back and forth on it a lot, and it's tricky because how do you separate the religion from the culture in general? So, for example, for all the horrible things that, the Taliban does, it's very, I don't know what the polling says, but maybe the vast majority of Afghanis hate to the core the Taliban, but they don't have power. So is that fair? Well, not really. I don't know how to quantify the amount of global destabilization that America's overseas meddling and what Israel is currently doing is causing the world. I can't quantify that, so I don't really know how to rank that against other things. What I do feel confident in saying is that the greatest number of people living in misery on our planet happen to be in pretty fundamentalist Islamic places. This could be argued for hours, even days, but that's my answer. As far as watching me, I do very, very, very few live streams on YouTube. Maybe that'll change someday soon. You can watch me on TikTok on on a computer. Technically, you can go to tiktok.com and watch. I understand if you don't want to download the app, that's totally fine. But for the record, I stream at noon Pacific on Saturdays and Sundays. With Sundays, I usually start at about 11:30 nowadays. Oh, man. Very famously, this is one of the questions that Jonathan Haidt asks in his research that got really popular with his book, The Righteous Mind: Why People Are Divided Over Religion and Politics. There's a transcript in there of somebody being asked. It's a more specified example. They use protection, and so there's it absolutely no risk of pregnancy or anything happens, and the person just says, well, it's wrong, but because blank could happen. And then the person conducting the study says, no, it specifically says that doesn't happen or can't happen because of X, Y, or Z. And they're just left there just completely gobsmacked saying, well, it's wrong, but I don't know why it's wrong. My answer to this question is basically that. I don't think it's right. I can't exactly give you a reason apart from slippery slope arguments. And that it makes me go, ew. For the bottom, most people, even young people that call themselves pro-choice, they usually pick the 21 or 22 week framework or the first trimester framework. After that, there are considerations to take in place. For example, it may not be known before then that there is some sort of congenital disorder where this child's going to be born without any skin, inside out, missing organs, with its brain not inside of its skull, or something horrendous like that. And all that's going to happen is if a natural birth occurs, you're going to watch and listen to this thing scream in bloody agony for hours or days before it expires. And if you take what I think most pro-choice positions are, the sort of pragmatic utilitarian approach of harm reduction, then I think it's absolutely justified. And there are also things like ectopic pregnancies, obviously, or medical complications that arise, which are also justified. There's such a thing as discretion. I actually have a video that I'll be making probably in a couple of days about this. Where are you going? Apologies, I just simply have not had a lot of time to put in all the homework for all these questions on this one. There are some specific numbers on this. In the first Planck second or few Planck seconds, the universe grew by a factor of a trillion, trillion, or something like that. I don't remember what the specific numbers are, but it is kind of in general known what that inflation would have been like. Now, there wasn't anything we could call matter as we understand it until around 400,000 years after that Big Bang. I don't know exactly when baryons and things like that begin forming, but I'm pretty sure it's right at around that time. So there aren't any elements that would go on a periodic table, regular forms of matter, until around that 400,000 year mark. It's like 380,000 is the number, I believe. There might be a decent number of them that have very few contradictions, but it doesn't mean what they think it means. So, for example, water always finds its level is true because level means perpendicular to the acceleration of gravity, not parallel with the ground. Although tides prove that this isn't true either. I suppose also when they say, I don't see curvature, that's basically true. The left to right curvature, you can see the forward and backward curvature if you go to the ocean. The sharp horizon, that is the hump of the top of the curve. They don't accept that. They don't really get that most of the time, but every time they say that, that's what I bring up, and they do not like it. And for young Earth creationists, the argument that you don't know how much radioactive material you started with is sort of true, but it doesn't matter because we have isochron dating to deal with that. But for this, no. In many ways, young Earth creationism is more contradictory than flat Earth because they pretend that science backs up their claims, but any rational secular approach to scientific study about the world, it can never give you the numbers that they are looking for. And then they also do things like give us fine tuning and all this other garbage, which miracles violate fine tuning. If the universe is fine tuned, then there's no requirement for a deity to do anything other than create the universe. Life is completely unmiraculous under fine tuning. Oh, the speed of light, it could have been different in the past. Oh, well, then you don't believe in fine tuning. If there was a God, which one would you prefer? That is a very good question. I'm not going to lie. I know nothing about Hinduism or Zoroastrianism or about Islam, basically. I grew up Catholic, and Catholics are just, for the most part, so unserious. They're basically secularists, except for a few issues. I do say the God of the Bible is a hideous monster, but that kind of depends on how seriously you take it. I know there are religions like Jainism, and I don't know what the gods or god of Jainism is, but, their beliefs are like absolutely complete pacifism no matter what, like sweep the ground in front of you so you don't even kill insects, stuff like that. That just opens the door for you to be completely destroyed by psychopaths. So I guess I can't really get behind that. I find the Buddhist philosophy to be attractive, and Jesus's teachings are very much in line, particularly, stuff about austerity. But what are the Buddhist gods? I literally have no idea. So my honest response to this is I kind of have to push, but if you force me to pick one, I'm not satisfied with this answer at all. But the version of Yahweh when I was Catholic was, I didn't really have any problems with that. Nobody can see you if you lay that way. Yeah, funny enough, there could potentially be several. There are more trees today than there were 100 years ago. And that's not because of more responsible foresting techniques. It's because vast areas of, for example, Siberia and places like that are now warm enough for trees to expand into. It very much actually could be the case that we are that our potential to grow more food increases as we add carbon into the atmosphere. Now, we already make more food than we need. It's just that our diets are are very weird. We feed most of the food we make to the food we make, cows and pigs and things like that. And, funny enough, a hot planet isn't a civilization destroyer. There are some existential risks that can come from that, particularly in certain regions of the world. Climate destabilization, we've already seen this happen, like in Syria, can cause, mass migrations and people just can't live in those places anymore. But it is a civilization ender? An ice age. And we're in the middle of an ice age cycle. And if we prevented that from happening again, then we would be blocking the most disastrous climate change event that would ever happen in human history. Now, my ancestry is 50% Scandinavian.
You Viking?
And about 25% Irish. And the remaining 25% is a mixture of British and Danish. So no, Peterson is not short for Peter Soloniski or anything like that. I've answered this before, but the morality questions, the objective morality questions, those used to be hard. I didn't know what to say because you don't want to get trapped into saying things like, well, you can't say that so-and-so was wrong if it's all subjective. But I pretty quickly learned that all you have to do is ask these people, what if God told them to do it? And then immediately they agree with those things that they claim are objectively wrong. And we don't even have to do hypotheticals. There's all kinds of genocides and horrible things in the Bible. But another thing is, even if I can't say that they're wrong, all that means is I can't convince them that they are wrong. I'm still perfectly allowed to think that it is wrong. I did do a little bit of homework on this one. So the Shasu people that's actually pronounced Yahoo, the way I understand it. So they were a nomadic tribe that lived in the Sinai region. Now, it's thought that potentially these were the Proto-Israelites. Now that YHW, that is what they called the region they lived in. And we don't know if that was adopted into the name Yahweh later on or not. It could just literally be a coincidence. What is pretty clear is that there was this ancient storm deity, and its name was Yahweh, and then that eventually became the monastic or whatever we call it deity of for Judaism. But there's no connection between Yahoo, this region, and Yahweh, the storm deity, or anything like that. I will put in the description for this video a link to I have a Google Doc for the Spanky Bible. I will put it in there. I'm going to write a note right now. I do, but it's not very common. It's oddly specific. I wouldn't say like emotionally this happens to me. I mean, there are a few songs that do this, but not very many. But what actually makes this happen reliably is if it's a song I can see myself playing, because I do open mics here in the town I live in. And the idea of like learning a new song, and it's really badass, and playing it in front of, a bunch of people or just a few people, depending on the turnout, and just like nailing it, that actually makes my hair stand up. So that's pretty much the only thing. I'm not a shredder. I don't like that kind of music. I don't listen to any Yngwie. I don't like Eddie Van Halen. There are ways to cheat, though. See, people that don't play the guitar can't tell the difference between somebody who's just riffing up and down on the pentatonic scale. I'll put a couple videos of me doing that just as some examples. But a non-guitar person can't tell the difference between that and doing like arpeggiated sweep picking or whatever. They don't really notice the difference. They just can tell that they both sound fast. And it's hard to know that one of those is actually far more difficult to do. First one, I mean, it seems kind of impossible because very primitive creatures can do that because they have simpler body plans. Now, more complex organisms like reptiles can grow parts back, and amphibians can grow parts back. In terms of like reptiles with the tail, I believe that it doesn't have the same function. It has reduced function. I don't know if they grow all the bones back or if it just becomes like kind of a cartilaginous, almost like scar tissue type appendage. But my guess is for the few reptiles and amphibians that can do that, that is a conserved trait from our more primitive animal ancestors that we're the descendants of, that they were somehow able to maintain, whereas we have lost that, and our bodies are just simply too complex to gain that back. I hate to disappoint, but I really don't have an opinion on this favorite VP. I mean, geez. I have a least favorite. I mean, it's Dick Cheney. It's not even close. I didn't even start paying attention to politics until I graduated from college. I wasn't old enough to vote, even when I was a senior in high. I was a senior when the Obama's first election was happening, but I wasn't old enough to vote. It was in the fall, and my birthday was in the spring. And in college, 2012. I mean, I was a junior in college. I was also not, or what was it? Yeah, juniors. I wasn't paying attention to politics then either. So I've only seen a grand total of 3 vice presidents in my entire adult life. So, I mean, out of those 3, I guess I'll pick Biden. Advice on content creation. Being a content creator, it actually has an incredibly, incredibly low, what do you call it? Not like startup cost. There's a term for this. I don't remember what it is. But like literally, I use almost everything I use is for free. I don't use Photoshop. I don't use Adobe After Effects or anything like that. I have a little Mac Mini, which is the best general purpose computer you can get. The thing is amazing. And you can get them for a pretty cheap price. But because it's a Mac, it's very easy to use. And it comes with GarageBand and iMovie for free. You'll notice I don't have any fancy cuts or edits or anything like that. I record using OBS. Now, you can just use your phone on OBS. That's actually, I'm filming, my kitty cam. I'm using my phone for that. So you can just wirelessly stream your phone. And what's really crazy is no matter what angle you have it at, it always has it correctly. So that's pretty cool. Or just get a webcam. I mean, you can get a pretty decent webcam for like $40-$60, I guess. The easiest thing in the world to do is to do the reaction videos. YouTube absolutely loves those. And, you don't necessarily really have to plan ahead for them. If you want, you can like watch the video once ahead of time so you kind of know what you want to say, or just blind react. Now, if you want to make science content, like if you don't want to react, you want to be doing all original stuff, I don't know, just figure out what you like, figure out what you're good at, and just start writing. I have a Google Doc, and I type out the scripts for the videos that I do when I have a script, and then I make the video, and then I just delete the whole script. I just keep that one Google Doc, and I just delete the whole thing and write new things over and over and over again. I'd say the reason I'm able to do all of this, I mean, I wasn't born knowing stuff. You can't see it, but I have a pretty decent sized library. Just buy like 10 books on a subject that interests you, read them, and then just start talking about what you learned from them or whatever. That's basically what I do. Or just binge YouTube. I mean, I've probably learned more online than all the books I've read. In fact, I'm certain that I have. What do I think it feels like to get nuked on my channel? I don't know. I've had 2 people, well, 3, request for me to take down videos of them. One was Jamal. He must have been legitimately embarrassed. Another was the guy that said, let's compare biceps. He told me to take down a TikTok video I did of him because I debated him twice. And he said that. And I said, you know what? If you agree to talk to me again here and we have a nice conversation, then I'll do that. And I did. I deleted that video, but the other one's up on my YouTube channel. So that was another one. And then Irish demanded that I do it too, which I did not. What do I think is in it for them? I mean, I guess they think they're right. I'm in the politics Discord. I spend zero time in there. There's a flat Earth channel in there. I went in there once. I uploaded the video on here. It's a really funny video. I could do that every single day, but one, they're really toxic and annoying, and they can just mute and kick me whenever they want. So it probably wouldn't be super enjoyable. But it's not going to make any difference. Now, it's my perspective, but I do my online show or whatever. Because now I don't go looking for people because I don't need to. They come to me. But, I can see myself doing that because I think I'm right. And I think getting out the correct message is important. And I guess I would have to, yes, they're wrong and yes, they're stupid. But if I'm trying to be honest, they think what I think about their position on the issue. So I guess it's not really surprising that they keep coming back. Although most of the people I have you're leaving? Although most of the people I've talked to are do not ever come back. I have only talked to Darth once since that debate with him that I uploaded on here, and the second time I talked to him, I did upload it onto my YouTube channel. I don't remember what that video is called. It's not very good. Like, it's just like little snippets and clips. But no, I haven't heard from him. I would gladly talk to him again, but he's got to come to my channel and talk to me. I don't plan on DMing him. Although the other day, he was saying shit about evolution that was just so incredibly stupid and wrong. And it took every fiber of my being not to request up and, record it. But I just knew it would be miserable for me because, it was his channel. So I don't know, maybe I will message him and be like, Darth, you're so wrong about evolution. We got to talk about that. So I don't know, that could be interesting. I mean, with regard to politics, this does happen with me fairly regularly, I guess. With regard to like science and stuff like that, I'm pretty optimistic. I've talked a lot about this in the past. How optimistic am I about politics? With what we have coming, I don't know. I mean, we'll see in 6 months, I guess. I feel like if things are going to be as bad as people think they're going to be, they'll be that bad right away. And if not, then it's like, okay, it's just going to be unbearable and annoying for several months. I mean, there is going to be real material harm that comes to a lot of people. I'm not trying to downplay it, but like, it's not going to be like existential, is what I mean. And that was it. So, again, yeah, those are fun. Again, on about the 15th of every month, I do the YouTube live stream where I take the super chats for all of those questions, and then Patreon supporters get their questions answered. But you got to reply to my email. Not very many people are responding to the email, so check for that. I will see you tomorrow.